Welcome back. I'm returning now for conversation with my good friend David Thornburg.
Creativity is a common core element of knowledge generation. It's the common core element of innovation. It's the common element in a bunch of things across the curriculum. And a lot of people think of subjects like mathematics as something that's more cut and dried and not something that could involve a lot of creativity, and yet that's not true at all. If you take a look, for example, at Thales' theorem that says that a triangle inscribed from the diameter of a circle inside a circle always has at the apex a 90-degree angle, the proof of that can be done trivially by a student using a process that is not taught in any textbook, and it's just a matter of unlocking the opportunity for a student to play with these triangles and to make observations about them that could lead them to brand new proof. So creativity can even show up in finding a new proof for a theorem that's over 2,000 years old. And I think that's pretty phenomenal. And if it applies in mathematics, I promise you it applies in a lot of other fields. With regard to the STEM conversation, because that's a huge topic, especially in these days. We hear lots of people in government talking about it. We're seeing some money being put into it. And yet a lot of schools persist in thinking that the way to address STEM is by addressing them in separate subjects: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Well, problem with that is that technology and engineering may be subjects in the Perkins-funded schools, what we used to call trade schools or vocational schools back when I was a kid. We don't call them that anymore. We call them career academies and things of that sort. And then the academic high schools tend to be more focused on science and math. So there's already kind of a disconnect. And there doesn't need to be a disconnect. I think that we need to understand that engineering, which is driven by creativity, is the core element, and that you can't have engineering without science, math, and technology. You can have science without engineering, but you can't have engineering without science. Now, this leads to some very interesting challenges, which is how do we attract people with backgrounds in engineering into the K-12 teaching profession? That's certainly a challenge. How do we revisit our curricular models and classroom practices to incorporate engineering ideas into them? That's another huge challenge. And we really have started to address this perhaps, but haven't done a lot with it. I had a very interesting experience with respect to creativity and student learning about a month or so ago when I was doing a workshop for students from grades 4 through 8 in a small school. And in this particular workshop, one of the challenges was for students to design a robot that would move in a straight line, motor-driven robot, but no wheels were allowed. And so the students had to they chose to make a robot that vibrated. It was a plate that vibrated but had feet on it that sort of guided its direction. So as it vibrated, it moved down the table. And it was fascinating to see all the different approaches that students took and seeing them incorporate ideas from mathematics and science and whatnot into their designs. But the creativity that came out of it was the thing that really kept them enthused. And with one workshop, which we did in the afternoon, that was supposed to end at 4 o'clock, at 4 o'clock, I told the students, okay, it's time to go home. It's time to stop. And they said, oh, can we just work a little while longer? So I said, okay. So at 5 o'clock, I said, time to go. And they said, oh, no, wait, I still want to do something. Finally, at 5:30, I got the kids out the door. Now, if you have got kids who will not leave your classroom for an hour and a half at the end of school, something pretty magical is going on. And what was going on was creativity, the fact that the kids had control over the innovations that they were incorporating into their designs. And it was a rejuvenating experience, not just for them, but for me. I absolutely loved every second of it.